Okay, B'ezrat Hashem Yitbarach, we are going to start a series of lectures on laws of Shabbat, the sanctity of Shabbat, the importance of Shabbat, Shabbat, and Shabbat. It says in the Torah, Zachor et Yom HaShabbat v'Kadosho, remember the day of Shabbat to sanctify it. Remember the day of Shabbat to sanctify it. Now, there's another pasuk in the Torah, in Sefer Dvarim, it says over there, Shamor et Yom HaShabbat v'Kadosho, which means remember, guard, safe keep the day of Shabbat to sanctify it. Now, what's the difference between Zachor and Shamor? The Ramban brings down in Parashat Yitro, he says the difference between Zachor and Shamor is as follows. Zachor, it goes on the positive aspect of Shabbat, remembering the day of Shabbat. And Shamor goes on the negative, desecrating the holy day of Shabbat, watching it from desecrating it, remembering it to sanctify it by making it better, and Shmirah, guarding it, safekeeping it from desecrating the day of Shabbat. And both purposes are to sanctify the day of Shabbat. Zachor goes on the mitzvah ta'aseh. Shamor goes on the lo ta'aseh. Now, the difference between the aseh and the lo ta'aseh is as follows. On the positive commandments and the negative commandments. When a person, there's two ways to serve Hashem. And both ways are needed. Both ways are needed. There is an aspect of serving Hashem out of fear, being afraid to break a law, because otherwise you will get punished. Because you know that Ribono Shel Olam is Gadol, Gibor, and also Nola. He's fearsome, he's awesome, someone to be afraid of. And if we are serving Hashem from not to break a law, which means being afraid, very much afraid of breaking the law. Not afraid because he will punish. That's one point of view. But being afraid from going against someone who does that much for you, does so much for you, you would not dare to go to your father, after one who does so much for you and gives off of himself for you, to come to a point of coming over to him and say, you know, Dad, here you go, take a slap for a change, and here's a slap in the face. It's just not acceptable. Because why? You fear of going ahead, of coming to a point of hurting. That is as far as fearing. Now, there is that aspect means not to desecrate Shabbat, because you know that Hashem Yitbarach, who gave you the day of Shabbat. Now, we will explain why. We will deal with the aspect of trying to figuring out and understanding why is Shabbat so severe. Now, we'll get to that soon. Remembering the day of Shabbat, Zachor goes on the Aseh. That is an aspect of the one who fulfills Shabbat, keeps it properly. Like Chazal say, what is included in Zachor et Yom HaShabbat v'Kosho? Meaning, he makes kiddush over a cup of wine. He makes a seudah on the day of Shabbat. He rests on Shabbat with deriving pleasure, oneg. Derives simple pleasure, relaxing, spiritual relaxation, not just physical. We will talk about that soon as well. Now, we have the Zachor part goes on the Aseh part. Now, the Aseh part goes not as far as fearing, being afraid, but rather out of love. You know what? When you tell that you love is when you do the positive. By not doing negative, you're not showing that you love. All you're showing is that you're afraid to break a law. That's why you are being, right, not doing the no-no. The don't do's you fulfill, right, because you're showing that you're afraid. You're afraid to get punished. But when you come to a point of doing the positive, that in itself is already shows that reason why you're doing this is because you love. You know, a person will say, I didn't desecrate Shabbat. What did I do? I stayed in bed for 25 hours straight. I slept from the second Shabbat came in, the second my mother lit the candles, and I woke up the second my father made Havdalah and Borei Morei Ha'esh. From one candle, one light to the other. Okay? He says, I slept from one light to the other light, And that is how I kept Shabbat. You tell him you fulfilled the law ta'ases. You did not desecrate the day of Shabbat. But the question is, but did you fulfill Shabbat? Did you do what was expected of you? There was something that was expected of you to do. And here you are just simply not doing anything. You did not do the positive. Did you sit by? Did you go to shul? Did you pray to Hashem? Did you praise Hashem? Did you enjoy the day of Shabbat? Did you eat your seudot Shabbat? Did you learn on the day of Shabbat? Did you fulfill? Did you gain anything from Shabbat? What did Shabbat, not what you did for Shabbat, but what did Shabbat do to you? That's also something very important for us to realize. Every Shabbat you come out of Shabbat, you're supposed to ask yourself, not what did I do for Shabbat, but what did Shabbat do to me? Did I come out different? Am I saying, wow, that was a day of rest? Let's wait for another one next week. Yeah? Great outcome. But what did Shabbat do to you? What did you get out of it? Did you learn something new? Have you become different? That is something that we will Bezat Hashem be learning Bezat Hashem. So as we know, Chazal says, Zachor v'shamor b'dibur echad. They were said with one word. There's many mitzvot in the Torah, the Ribono Shel Olam said at the same time. Like you could have one person say two words at the same time. Can you hear when Klal Yisrael stood under the Har Sinai, when they heard Zachor, that was the same time exactly when they heard Shamor. And that's how many laws in the Torah were said this way. Two mitzvot, two positive commandments, two mitzvot, one opposite the other. The lotas and the aseh, they're associated, they have one to do with the other. There are many examples like that. They were said at the same time. That shows you that out of so many mitzvot in the Aseret HaDibrot, the Ribono Shel Olam chose Zachor and Shamor, right? To be in that, to say both at the same time. Zachor and Shamor. Zachor, Shamor, Shamor, Zachor. I mean, it's very hard for even one person to say it, but even two people say it at the same time is also difficult to start at the same time, to finish at the same time. You can't really finish saying it at the same time. But anyhow, let us proceed further. Now, what are the aspects of Zachor, remembering? Why did Hashem come in the Torah and come to every single one of us who stood under the Har Sinai? And He said to us, besides Anochi Hashem Elokecha, Lo Tisa, right? Many averot, or He says that that they come in the many positive and the negative in the 10 Commandments. Right? We have over here Zachor and Shamor. What was Hashem trying? Why is it there? Why is it one of the most important ones? So I saw Midrash Rabbi Tanchuma. Midrash Rabbi Tanchuma says the following. He says, imagine to yourself, he gives a mashal. He says, imagine a person who says, I'm going to build a magnificent palace. I will build something very beautiful and I will put my utmost energy into it, do the best I can to build a beautiful palace. And it comes to a point of working on it, and it took him years and years to do, and finally when he accomplishes, and it came to its full completion to the extent that there's nothing faulty in that palace. Everything is perfect. Like, sometimes you walk into the house and you say, wow, look at this house. Everything is in its right place. And the guy says, yeah, my father is a contractor. He builds thousands of houses. So after building thousands of houses, right, he comes to a point of building a perfect home. But even that person will not build you a perfect home, right? Unless he built not 1,000 houses, he built 1,000,000 houses. A guy who built 1,000,000 houses, he'll do even better, right? But here comes a guy that he built such a house that everything is perfect. What does the guy like that do on the day he finishes building his palace? He throws a very big party, like we have something called Chanukah Bayit, inaugurations, right? We hit the mezuzot, we make a shechiyanu, right? We buy the best mezuzot, not the cover cases, right? Not mezuzah covers. Mezuzah covers is zekeli ve'anveu. It's the beautiful, it's true, beautiful, very nice. But the actual content is on the inside, the actual mezuzah, right? That is the most important part. See how some people, they are willing to spend on the mezuzah case a couple of $1,000s, but you open the inside and you look inside and you try to find the mezuzah. You try to find it. Bezat Hashem. They will find it, hopefully not with the microscope. But okay, it's there. Anyhow, I should show you what they have inside mezuzot, right? It says over there. It says this is not a mezuzah. It's a simple little piece of paper with all names of Hashem crossed out inside there, and it's on a regular piece of paper. That's what the mezuzah content is. Photocopy of the actual mezuzah, but they push it, and people don't know. They think, well, I got a bargain, right? Cheap. Anyhow, let's go further. So, they get it from Israel. The grandmother built it. Let's go on. Anyhow, let's not laugh. It's real nebuch, real. It's a very bad situation. Bad situation comes out of ignorance, not knowing. So, just like a guy who builds himself a perfect house and he makes an inauguration, he celebrates it. That celebration will be remembered for a long time. Same thing with Ribono Shel Olam, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? Shemolo Kol Haaretz Kevodo. You come to a point of creating this beautiful world, and everything is perfect. You want to know how perfect this world is? I advise you, learn the books of Rabbi Miller. You will see how the world is simply everything, every little to this finest detail. Everything is perfect. Perfect. This is the beauty of the world. Hashem Yitbarach put everything in its place at the right time. Everything there. And Ribono Shel Olam came to a point of creating the world in 6 days. And he rested on the 7th one by celebrating. And we commemorate that celebration. We took it on from Hashem to again and again give the message over to the world that the world was created in 6 days. There's 6 days of creation, and the 7th day is the day of Shabbat. The Kuzari, right? Rabbi Yehuda Alevi, right? He comes to a point of saying, not for no reason is in this world there's 7 days in a week. It's not for no reason. Everywhere you go, there are 7 days a week. Some religions in the past try to deny that, and they try to make it, a little bit different. That's why if you look in the Megillat Esther, right, it says over there by Esther HaMalka, she purposely chose herself 7 maidservants, and she would have one which is called a Sunday, second one called Monday, third one called Tuesday, right, till it came to a point, right, Friday, and then she had one called Shabbos. So she knew how to tell what day is Shabbat. From the rotation of the maidservant, she was able to figure out which day is Shabbat. But most normal religions, I don't want to say normal religions, right? Most normal, right, situation in this world is you can't deny the truth. Anything that's not true will automatically fade away. Lies fade. They have no feet. They have nothing to stand on. So this way we know to tell for sure that it's 7 days a week, and not for no reason, because that is the truth. The ultimate truth, because Ribono Shel Olam created this world in 6 days, and he rested on the 7th day. Now we commemorate that again and again every single day of Shabbat. Every single day when Shabbat comes, every time Shabbat, we remember that, and that is what we try to do by celebrating the day of Shabbat. That's why it's important to have the aspect of Zachor, Shamor, not desecrating Shabbat does not show that you're actually doing something. To remember Shabbat, to commemorate Shabbat, you have to actually do something positive. The way to do is, we explain, you gotta do extra, you gotta go, say an extra step for Shabbat. Like what we see right now, Rashi brings down over here on the spot. He says on the Rashi, on Zachor, Rashi says like this, Zachor is talking in not past tense, not future tense, but present tense. Now, which means it tells you that you must remember the day of Shabbat constantly. Constant remembrance, which means on Sunday you have to remember Shabbat. On Wednesday you have to remember Shabbat. On Monday you got to remember Shabbat. At night, daytime, these are one of the 10 zechilot, whichever way you want to go, 10 zechilot, right? You have to keep on remembering the day of Shabbat, but not actually like people say, Hayom Yom Echad b'Shabbat Kodesh. That's not called remembering Shabbat. Rashi says a step further. He says, yes, that's one way to remember Shabbat. You got to mention the day of Shabbat every single day. But there's one way that the Braita says to do. The Braita brought down the Gemara in Masechet Betzah. We will see this soon inside. Tenu lev lizkor tamid et Yom HaShabbat. He says, put it to your mind. Think. Use the noodles, right? Constantly. Remembering the day of Shabbat. Constantly. Tamid et Yom HaShabbat. Meaning, to what extent? That if you came to a point of finding a beautiful vessel, a beautiful fruit, a beautiful piece of meat, a good cut of meat, right? You found the roast beef, right? Mouth-watering, looks good. Yeah? And you say, you know what? Tehemazmino leShabbat. Take it and set it aside for the day of Shabbat. As Chazal say, Michat shavecha leShabbatecha. From the Sunday, you gotta go and think about the last day of Shabbat. And we'll see the Gemara pretty much right now. The Gemara in Masechet Betzah will talk about the importance of Shabbat. The Gemara says over here, we'll do a whole mix of many Gemarot, but here is the one that we have to say over here right now. It says like this. It says here like this. The Gemara brings down the Masechet Betzah in the second parak, the beginning on Daf Tet Zayin. It says here the following. Tanya, we learned in the Beraita. Amru alav al Shammai HaZaken. They said this about Shammai HaZaken. They said about Shammai. Kol yamav haya ochel lichvot Shabbat. All the days of his life, every single day, he ate in the honor of Shabbat. Now, how can you eat on Sunday in honor of Shabbat? How could you eat on Tuesday in honor of Shabbat? I mean, what are you planning on to do? Right? Eat leftover food? That sounds like a very good idea, but this we're talking about not our generation. We're talking about a couple of hundred, almost 2,000 years back. How in the world did he eat Lechot Shabbat? Leftovers by Tuesday probably get ruined already. Or Wednesday, stale. By Thursday, probably turn green already, right? And whatnot. Okay. So, but the Gemara says not so. The Gemara says following. Matzah, listen to this. It says like this. Matzah be'ema na'a. He would find a beautiful animal. Beautiful animal. Omer zu Shabbat. He says this animal is going to be for the day of Shabbat. He would go out on Sunday to the marketplace. He would find a beautiful animal. He would say, okay, I'm buying this lamb, this sheep. I'm buying it for Shabbat. When he comes up on the next day, listen to this. It says, comes out next day, Matzah, Behema, Na'emena. He finds an animal which is even more beautiful than that one. What he does is, he keeps the second one for Shabbat and he eats the first one, Lichvot Shabbat. Why? Because if he does not eat the first one, he will not be able to eat the second one on Shabbat. So which means the purpose of him eating the first one is what? Is only to show the honor of Shabbat. This was Shammai HaZaken. This was Shammai HaZaken. And the Gemara, I'm skipping a little bit, the Gemara says, we also like this in the Beraita, it says, Bet Shammai Omrim, Bet Shammai say, the students of Shammai, they were saying, Mechat shavecha leShabbatecha, from Sunday, you got to think about the seventh day, the last day of the week, Shabbat. Because the Shabbat is not only the seventh day, but it's also the first day. It's the day that keeps the week alive. Keeps the week alive. And the Gemara says about Hillel again, he had a little bit different of a way of doing things. He would wait and leave things over for the last day of Erev Shabbat, Friday. And he used to dedicate his whole Friday for the honor of Shabbat. Okay, let us proceed further. The Gemara says as follows. The Gemara says, Amar Rav Chab Rabbi Chanina. Says like this. So Gemara goes on to the next thing. Gemara says, Amar Rav Chaim Rabbi Chanina. A person who gives his friend a gift, he does not have to let him know about it. He doesn't have to make him know about it. And the Gemara says the reason why he doesn't have to make him know about it is because the Gemara talks about Moshe Rabbeinu. He did not know that Hashem gave him that splendor, that glow on his face, that when he came from Har Sinai, people were even come to a point of being even afraid to look at Moshe Rabbeinu. And the Gemara says, this is one aspect that it says when you give somebody a present, you don't have to let him know. But the Gemara says, he refutes this by saying a different Braita. The Gemara says like this, Metivei. We ask a Braita, the Gemara asks the question, how could you say you don't have to let him know? We know that Ribono Shel Olam was the one who told Moshe Rabbeinu, Lada'at ki ani Hashem mikadeshchem. Hashem says, I want Klal Yisrael to know that I'm the one that's sanctifying them through giving them the day of Shabbat. Amar lo HaKadosh Baruch Hu Moshe. He said to Moshe Rabbeinu as follows, Moshe, Matana tova yesh li bevet genazai. I have a good gift, right, by me, in my treasury. V'Shabbat Shema, and his name is Shabbat. V'ani mevakasha litna liYisrael, and I want to give it to the Jewish people. Lech ve'odia otam, go and let them know about it. And the Gemara says, the Gemara goes on to say that a person is supposed to let him know. So the Gemara says like this. So the Gemara says an answer. It says over here in the outcome that what it means, do you have to let him know? You don't have to let him know, because something that will will eventually become known, you don't have to let him know. But something that will never be known, you don't have to let him know about it at all. So the Gemara says like this. The Gemara is like this. Something which person will anyways find out, like Moshe Rabbeinu, people are afraid to come close to him. Moshe Rabbeinu realized, right, that they had that special glow. When it comes to Shabbat, right, they would never know. Hashem says, you know what? I want to give them the day of Shabbat. Shabbat came by. Jewish people don't know anything about Shabbat. Do they know Hashem gave them a gift? No. So that's why Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu to go and let them know. But the idea is to take the point of this, how the Balei Musa explained it. They say, think about it. I think the Havetz Chaim even brings it down in the Sefer. He says the following. He says, let's go gradually, little by little. Gradually. If let's say you come, your friend comes over and says, Avraham, I have something very special for you. It's sitting in my treasure chest. No one knows that I have it, and I want to give it to you. You say, my friend, sure has something good for me. You start to feel good. Wow. He's my friend, and he wants to give me something which is very precious that no one knows that he has such a thing. So right away you feel like, what? I'm getting something very good. You can't wait to get it, right? Imagine this was a regular friend. But can you imagine a millionaire comes over to you and says to you, you know what? I have something very special in my vault. It's sitting in there. No one knows I have it. And it's very precious to me, and I want to give it to you. How do you feel? You feel like, whoa, right? I'm really getting a deal here. I'm getting something very, very special. But you imagine this was a regular millionaire. Imagine a king, right? Comes to you and says to you, I have something very special to give you. Imagine not a king, but you have, the person who is in charge of the whole world, right? Says to you, let's say we have somebody as that, like Nebuchadnezzar, right? Or Shlomo HaMelech that ruled the whole world, Alexander the Great, right? Any of them comes over to you and says, I have something very special. It's sitting in my treasure chest and I want to give it to you. How do you feel about it? You say, wow, I'm getting a real... He says, but here you have Melech Malchei HaMelachim, Ribono, King of Kings, Ribono Shel Olam. And Hashem says, I have a good gift to give you. I have something very precious to give, something very special to give you. Go and tell them about it. First of all, who's the giver and who's the receiver? And how each one has to be proud of the fact, right? The one who gave us the Shabbat, and so on, those who received the Shabbat. And the Ribono Shel Olam says, Matana Tova is something which is very good for you, right? How could even people come to a point of having second thoughts about Shabbat? Should I keep it or I shouldn't keep it? You got to be a complete fool. You have to be a real fool to come to a point of even having such thoughts. People come and they tell you, oh, work, Shabbat is the most money, right? Barbershops, most money you'll get. Well, don't say all those guys who work on the car service, right? A lot of guys take off on Saturdays, and they say this is the day to make a lot of money, and they don't realize, right, how they crash their cars, and they get a lot of tickets. I've spoken to those people who came and said, listen, true experience. And they come and they say, here, look, this is what happened on Shabbat. I made a lot of money, but, the money just disappears, just goes away. God, you don't really gain anything from working on Shabbat. Nothing at all. Nothing. Not physical, not spiritual, nothing. By working on Shabbat, you're not doing anything at all. Nothing.
Lose situation.
It's called lose-lose situation. Right. Okay. Let us proceed a little further. Let's go on. The Gemara goes on, another Mama Chazal over here. It goes on a little further. Here. The Gemara says like this. Amar Rabbi Yochanan Mishum Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai. Rabbi Yochanan says the name of Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai. Huh?
Who's that?
Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai? That's Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai. Tonight is Lag BaOmer, not for no reason. We connected somehow. Baruch Hashem.
How do you
should know. The Gemara, there's Chida. Rabbi Chida brings down. He says every time you have something that you learn that has to do with something that's that's happening. Let's say you learning Gemara and you hear a pasuk which is in the Parashat Shavua, or you're learning a Gemara and you hear it, right? Or you're learning Gemara that has to do with you hear something which has to do with the day, right? That day is special. And it comes out in the Gemara randomly. So he says, so Rav Achida says that you should know Hashem is happy with your Torah here, and He's happy with you too. So that gives you some kind of boost, a shock, like we're waking up, Baruch Hashem, feels very good. So Rabbi Yochanan said, in the name of the Rashbi, said the following statement. He says, all the mitzvot that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave to, all mitzvot natan lahem HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yisrael, natan lahem b'Phalestia. All the mitzvot Hashem gave us publicly given, all of them. He says, chutz mi Shabbat, besides Shabbat. When it came to the point of giving us Shabbat, Hashem gave it to us b'tzin'ah. And the Gemara says, well, where do we know this? It says, Beni uben bnei Israel. Privately. Hashem says Shabbat is something which is very private. I'm not giving it publicly. Modestly. But sin'ah. Nobody should know about it. Beni uben bnei Israel. Shabbat is given between me and Klal Israel. And the Gemara goes on back and forth and says, you know what? So Gemara says, a whole calculation, 1 second. If it was not publicly given, so then we know that every mitzvah that the Goyim did not accept upon themselves, Hashem will take, revenge. He punishes them for it. So Gemara says, why are they getting punished first for the day of Shabbat? If Shabbat was given privately, why should they get punished for it? So the Gemara says, no. What we meant to say that it was given privately is not the actual Shabbat. It's talking about something special about Shabbat. The day of Shabbat, you have something called Neshama Yetera. You have an additional neshama. Can you imagine how important Shabbat is? You're getting a bigger deal, right? If you're trying to reach the highest point in spirituality throughout the whole week, and you have to work very hard to do it. And you work hard. You have many mitzvot given to you, right? You have the mitzvah of tefillin to sanctify us. We have so many additional mitzvot that are given to us. And here comes what? On Shabbat, you're getting a double neshama to come to a point of not to eat more food, but to attain a higher level of spirituality, especially in spirituality. Of course, Hashem made it so easy for us that on Shabbat, just by eating, you attain spirituality too. You should know, by eating a delicious meal on Shabbat and enjoying it, l'chvot Shabbat Kodesh, you attain a high level. You get schar for chewing. Can you imagine? You chew the food, you eat it, you swallow it, and lo and behold, credit. Right in Shamayim, you see it's right. The bank account's filling up with all those gold coins, filling up and fast. And the Gemara says they give you that neshama yetera, the extra neshama, because that extra neshama given to us, to Klal Yisrael, was given in a private way that no one knows about it. The Goyim were never told about it. So if they knew about Shabbat, they never knew about the actual aspect that you could come to a point of being even more closer to Hashem Yitbarach on the day of Shabbat. And we learn this out from Pasuk, Shabbat v'nafash. It says over there that Shabbat is, the day of Shabbat is Shabbat and also nafash. Shabbat, you know what the literal meaning of Shabbat is? Shabbat, lashon shvita, protest. We are protesting, boycott, we're not working today. But it's not only saying I'm not working, it's also v'nafash. It's also a spiritual rest as well. Not working physically is one, but also attaining another level, which is spiritual level, which is resting spiritually. A lot of people say, right, if Hashem wants me to rest on Shabbat, so why can't I use an elevator? If Hashem wants me to to rest on Shabbat, right, why can't I sit down, relax, and
by the waves,
and find make it as more easier for myself, right? Do everything possible to make it more easier. And I said to them, listen, this is you live a life of paradox. I said, first of all, lighting up a light on Shabbat is not called resting. That's counterproductive. I'll explain to you why. I'll explain something to you. Here's your calculation. Think. Look. I said, if you're looking for life insurance, right, and you want to be insured, making sure that you're protected, what bigger life insurance do you have more than the day of Shabbat? What would be if I will tell you that, one day of life, I will protect you, that nothing bad should happen to you. Would you feel good? Of course you would feel good. You feel great. Yeah? Like, for example, let's say you are sitting you're sitting somewhere and you see the guy who's from the National Guard, he stands next to you the whole time. And you say, Rimon Shalom, what does this, what do I have to do with why is he here? On the contrary, you should feel good, why is he here? If he's here, it means you're more safe, you're more being protected. So here comes a very interesting thing about the day of Shabbat. Listen to this. Shabbat is a day where you're protected. If you don't touch electricity, how many chances are there that you get electrocuted and die from it and get hurt from it? Less. If you don't drive a car, how many chances are you going to be involved in a car crash? And if you, many things I will tell you. Many things. Every productive work that you have on Shabbat that a person can do, come to a point of desecrating Shabbat, he's pretty much saving his own life by not doing these melachot, by not doing anything productive at all. That is there for our own benefit. But if let's say a guy says, you know what, I want to rest. I want to do something which is going to rest me, right? I said to him, hello, there's one thing is that you're getting protected. Not only, imagine if in a year you get 52 days protection. In 7 years you get 1 year protection. And in 70 years, you're getting 10-year protection. And in 120 years, you're getting pretty much another 50 years. Do your calculation, about good 19 years. Good 19 years about, right? You're getting full protection. You're getting full protection. Can you imagine? Who can come to you and to tell you that, you know, at 16 years, 17, 18, 19 years of your life, you have no worries, everything will be fine. So a person is supposed to not just say, you know what, I can't wait for Shabbat to come. He should run to Shabbat. That is there to protect him, to give him all the good. Shabbat is pure benefit, something to gain from. But it's not only, right, that you're resting physically. We're talking about protected because you're protected, right, physically because you're resting physically. We're talking about attaining a higher level, gaining spiritually, vai nafash, and lashon nefesh, which is spiritual rest. A lot of people don't understand it. You know what a spiritual rest is? Let's talk on the neshama level. You know what? I want to make your soul happy today. I'm going to give it oshpolo. You say, Bono Shalom, what do I have anything to do with oshpolo? I don't gain anything out of it. Right? What does a neshama gain from? Something spiritual. Go do a mitzvah. Something which has, right, an attachment to a mitzvah. Could be a physical mitzvah, a spiritual mitzvah, learning another pshat in Tosfot, another pshat in the Rashba, another pshat in the Ramban. Getting a more, right, you get an inner happiness. Inner happiness, real, true happiness. You run to the Bet Midrash to spend the day there. Run! Because you're getting something called a spiritual gain, spiritual rest. I know a lot of people, I told you honestly, they will rest up on Friday, but they will take out of those 24 hours of Shabbat their utmost that they can. They will not sleep if they can. You know, people who don't go to sleep. Shabbat, sleep, for what? You could attain a high level. Very high level. And the Gemara says, you know, honestly speaking, sleeping on Shabbat is only for Talmidei Chachamim. But we'll see that soon, Bezat Hashem. A lot of people say Shabbat, right, is not Rikon. Yeah, you break it up. Shabbat, Shena, Bet. B'Shabbat, Taf, Ta'anug. Right? Gotta relax on Shabbat. For who? For Talmidei Chachamim. For them only. Chazal said that Arizal used to go sleep on Shabbat. He used to go sleep. Believe me, during his sleep, he also learned. He used to learn in his sleep also. This was Arizal. He used to go up in the upper worlds and attain even a higher spiritual level. Even higher than there is. This is something that, you know, that he was able to get out of it. But where are we running to? Sleep on Shabbat. Unacceptable. Right? This is not something which was so much, like Chazal say, a regular person on Shabbat has to be in the Bet Midrash 24 hours. Sit and learn the whole, your best you can, the best you can. Okay, next one. Next thing. We spoken about a spiritual rest, not a physical rest. Now, let me explain to you the gain of Shabbat. A lot of people say, oh, Shabbat, expensive. Not true at all. I remember of Shimshon Pincus Zatzal. He used to say he had a special thing. He would go with his students to the marketplace on Shabbat. He would tell his children, he would say to his students, say, go my children, today everything is free. Today everything is free. Why? Because you're not spending the money, you're using it correctly. Ribono Shalom is going to give you everything back. It's a spiritual gain. You're getting everything back to the fullest penny. The Gemara says, Ribono Shalom said to Klal Israel, right? It says like this. It says in the Pasuk, one second. Here. It says like this. Amar Rabbi Yochanan b'shum Rabbi Lazar b'Rabbi Shimon. No, that's the son of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Rabbi Yochanan said the name of Rabbi Lazar b'Rabbi Shimon.
What was the name?
Rabbi Lazar, son of Rabbi Shimon. He says the name of the son. Amar lahem HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yisrael. Hashem said to Klal Yisrael the following statement. He said on the pasuk, Ki chedvat Hashem ima'uschem. It says the rejoicing of Hashem is your strength. So what rejoicing of Hashem? Rejoicing in Hashem's mitzvot, being happy in Hashem's mitzvot, that is our gain, that is our power, that is our strength. And Chazal say, Ribono Shalom, what does that mean? And the Gemara says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to Klal Yisrael, Banai, my children, levu alai, borrow on my account. Unlimited credit. Unlimited. Borrow on my account. V'kitshu kedushat hayom, and sanctify the sanctity of the day. V'ha'aminu bi. Trust in me, believe in me. V'ani poreah, and I will pay. Hashem says, I am here to pay. I am here to pay. Now we have no worries. If Hashem says, right, I am paying, you don't have a greater check than this. It's like saying the check is not written out, the check is processed already in the bank, it's sitting there. A lot of people have this issue. They come to a point of saying, Ribono Shel Olam, how am I going to invite? The kids want to come for Shabbat. It's an expense. You want to tell the children don't come, right? You have some other issues, other reasons. Chas v'shalom. Shabbat is supposed to be a day where you're supposed to spend and spend and spend and use it well. If you have the money, use it. If you don't have the money at all and you're not going to get the money anywhere else, then there's special halachot for this. But let me tell you how far this goes. There is a very interesting, the Bala Turim, right? The two, Rabbeinu Yaakov, Bala Turim, right? He wrote, the son of Asher. He was the son of Asher. Right, Ben Asher. So Rabbeinu Yaakov, he said the following statement. He says, there's a Gemara that says, if you don't have, if you are tight, you're not going to have anywhere else. He says you could make your Shabbat as simple as possible. Make it simple as possible. Simple, simple, simple. And the Gemara says, and the two writes about himself. He says, and many times I used to go over to my father and I used to ask him. He says, for someone like me, that I have very little of my own, and I don't really get much from the outside. He says, can I apply this Ma'amar Chazal that Rabbi Akiva said, Aseh Shabbatcha Chol ve'al titzarech labriyot. Don't go out begging. Don't go out begging. Make your Shabbat simple like a regular day. No food. Dry, stale bread will do. He says, can I do the same? And the Rosh never answered him.
Who's tied to it, Rob?
Never answered him. Can you imagine Rabbeinu Asher, the Rosh? He did not want to pass in the halakha on this. You know what he said what he meant to tell his son? It do or die. Celebrate Shabbat. Shabbat you celebrate. No matter what. No matter where you hold it.
It's guaranteed.
Guarantee you'll get everything. You'll get everything to the fullest extent. I tell you my own personal experience. There was one time a story that I had to buy something for Shabbat. Personal, I'll tell you a story that happened with me. We used to have something called, I don't want to say the full story, but I'll say half of the story. I'm laughing about it because it's very funny. We went to a store. We were contemplating. Should we buy or we shouldn't buy? I just moved to Queens. The rent was very high. I had no income, no job. No job at all. I used to have people. I didn't have to go a lot of times looking for something. Somebody would simply come to my door, knock on my door. A complete stranger would come and say, somebody is looking for a Talmid Chacham that could benefit from his money. This is for you. I would open up an envelope, $1,000. Right in and there. Close to $1,000 was given to me. Randomly. I had one time a story where school tuitions, this and that. I didn't have a job. I literally didn't have a job. I sat down and I learned full-time learning. I had my rent skyrocketing, very expensive. I don't know how I paid my bills. And I lived in that house for 2.5 years. That was actually before I got the job across the street, right? So listen to what happened. Well, Killer members those days, but anyhow, we used to learn together. Hey, Chagiga. Yeah. Hey, here we go. Take a look. So it comes to a point where we had an issue. Should we buy or we shouldn't buy? You had to buy a set of dishes. You had to get something more normal. Shabbat is Shabbat. You can't have a day of Shabbat. Dishes that almost pretty much very hard to even match them together to make it the same. Okay, it's not Purim today. Let's put all the dishes looking the same. On Purim you could put everything different, but today everything has to look the same. So we went out to the store. True story. We went out to the store. We come there on 108th Street, a beautiful big store. So many dishes in there, Baskin Robbins, right? Just not ice cream. You come there, and we start choosing dishes. I said to my wife, listen, buy. Chazal say, Hashem pays. Buy, it's free. Back and forth, me and her were a little bit, I said, we're going to get this. And he says, with a limit. I said, no, get this. With this we need, this we don't need. Let's not buy a full set because this we're not going to need. But a long story short, bottom line, we bought. We bought, and we were so happy. We spent the money we didn't really were able to spend. We come home, somebody comes, he comes over to me, he says, Yosev, I want to tell you something. There's somebody in LA. He had $400. that he wanted to give to a Talmid Chacham that's sitting and learning. Somebody in LA, I don't know who the guy is. I barely knew the guy who came to me even. He says he wants you to use the check. It's for you. Here, take it. Now I took the check and I compared the bill. I said, I could have bought extra stuff. Okay, let's right? Good. But it pretty much covered everything to the fullest extent. The same day when I came home from that store, it came already. Can you imagine somebody from the other side of the world, from the west side, right? From the west coast to the east coast, flopped it in, boom, it came. And the check had to be sent in the mail, don't forget that. And it came to me on the same day I went to the store. It takes time to get food mail. And Ribono Shel Olam puts it, Hashem says, Levu alai, Aminu bi, I pay. Finished. There's no calculations made. I remember Rabbi Diamond used to always say, tell people, don't think twice, do it. Shabbat, Yom Tov, happy occasions, do it! And the Gemara says, if you look over here, Rav Tachlifa said, Achu ad Rav Nai, Choza'ah, he said like this, Kol mezonatav she'adam ksuvim mirosh shana v'ad rosh shana. Everything is set aside for you, prepared from one Rosh Hashanah to another. One full year's salary is set aside for you already. And it says what? Besides from chutz, from Otzaot Shabbatot, Otzaot Yom Tov, Otzaot Balon Talmud Torah, the Toshvat over here adds the Gisah says even Otzaot of Rosh Chodesh as well. All the money that you're going to spend on Shabbat, all the money you spend on Yom Tov, all the money you spend on your children's tuition, and you'll be paying for them to learn.
Includes girls also?
Includes Banav, the Talmud Torah. No, boys. Boys, it doesn't say anything. I don't know about Banav means children. Banav could include boys and girls. Yes, but today you also have an obligation to make sure that your daughters stay normal. So it probably will be included for sure. He says over here that what, and he says even Rosh Chodesh Suda. Can you imagine how we have very little to know about Rosh Chodesh Suda, right? Not only eating those donuts, right? The point, right? Don't try to be a cop, right? That eat donuts every single day. You don't come to the point of doing it only once a month. Yeah? Eat a real meal.
So it's good to take advantage of like going out on Rosh Chodesh?
Take advantage, not going out. Not the point of going out. A lot of people,
money on
spend it, use it, make a beautiful Suda. Make a Suda. Remember there was, right? Somebody, don't be like that example they said. There was a husband and wife. The wife tells him, come on, 50 years we're married. Can we go out to eat? He says, sure. Help me carry the table to the balcony. Sure. The balcony, it's right there. Take the tables out, we'll eat over there. That's not the point. The point is, you have to spend on the mitzvah. And I remember Rabbi Zafrani, should live a long life, Chacham Ezra. He came to a point of saying, he says, this is not talking about if Hashem pays for your food, right? Shabbos food, Yom Tov food, pays for Rosh Chodesh food, pays for Talmud Torah. Any mitzvah in the Torah is like this. Spend the money! Use it! He used to come to the point of saying, I remember I was sitting at when he was giving a speech, he said straightforward, he says, yeah, are you brave? You're really brave. Go borrow borrow 1 year's money. Sit down in the Bet Midrash, learn for a year. See how it goes for you. Be a man. Don't be a chicken. Be a man. You go borrow 1 year's money. How much money do you need? 30, 40,000? Borrow $40,000. What do you think? Try it out. Say, Hashem, I trust you. You give me the 40,000. See how it goes. It's only a year. It's only a year. Anyways, let's go further. It's for any mitzvah like this. Any mitzvah that you do for Hashem Yitbarach, Hashem says, I'm involved in it with you. The word mitzvah is lashon tzavta, partnership. There's an attachment you have here. Hashem says, I'm not only your partner, I'll take care of the whole thing. Just do it. Just do it, but do it right. Listen to the next thing. We have another Ma'amar Chazal. The importance of doing things right, the concept of preparations for Shabbat. A lot of people misunderstand, right, the concept. They think that preparations for Shabbat is not only as far as food, it's as far as the house, it's as far as the special. I know people that have special things just for Shabbat. They have a special vase for the flowers for Shabbat. They have special cutlery for Shabbat. They have special plates, spoons, forks, knives, right? The whole kitchen set, right, that they have, just for Shabbat. Just for Shabbat. The Gemara goes on to a point of saying that there was even an amodah that he used to have special furniture for Shabbat. He used to have like a little garage, right, storage place. He used to open up. Whatever he used during the week, he used to pick it up, put it away, take out the Shabbat stuff. Special. The Gemara brings down over here a story with Rabbi Khiyayev. Just find the Gemara for you. Here, the Gemara says the following. That there was one time Rabbi Khiyayev bar Abba. He says the following story. Listen to this. This is what a person who did something special for Shabbat. One time he says, I got to be in Lutkiya. Lutkiya, I don't know what that is. One of those cities in Chutz La'aretz. And I stayed for him for Shabbat. And they brought before this guy Shulchan Shel Zahav. They brought in front of the guy to eat off of a table which is made out of gold. 3 lines, 24 karat, pure gold. Huh? Listen to the story. But how big? Masoy Shisha Asar B'nei Adam. Can you imagine? He says it was, the weight of that table was a weight of 16 people. Big table. And there was attached to it 13 shalshelaot, I guess, like chains of silver attached to it. It says, and also on top of the table there were also attached part of it, cups, pitchers, plates, right, whatnot. And on it there was all types of delicacies, all types of fruits, besamim, spices. When they would put it in front of him, they would tell him, to Hashem is the world and everything that fills it. And when they would take it away, they would say to him, so there was a whole procedure, a whole entourage. So Rabbi Khiyayev bar Abba turns to this guy and tells him, he turns to the Balabait and says to him, Beni, my son, what did you do that you merited to have so much riches? From where? Where? I don't see big enterprises right here. It looks like Lutkiya is a regular city. But how did you become so wealthy? Amali said to him, Rabbi, I'll tell you, Katsav Haiti, I was a butcher. I was a butcher, right? Umikot be'ema she'ayta na'am, from any animal that looked very, very beautiful, Amati zute ele Shabbat. I did not sell it, I kept it for Shabbos. Only Shabbat. Amalti lo, I said to him, Ashrecha shezachita. How lucky you are, fortunate you are that you merited to have such a thing. How lucky you are. Zachita, you merited to have such a thing. You deserve it. Ubaruch hamakom, and blessed is Hashem that shizikha lekach, that He actually gave it to you too. He gave it to you. Can you imagine? What a person can do by preparations for Shabbat. Oh, a famous story with, right, as a lot of people know, Yosef Mokir Shabbat. It's a little bit wrong. It comes with a little flavor to it. Rabbi Yosef Mokir Shabbat. He was a Tanai. He wasn't a regular guy off the street. The famous Rabbi Yosef who used to honor Shabbat, Mokir Shabbat. They knew him, this guy, Mokir Shabbat. He honored Shabbat. The whole story, right? How the Gemara says there was a story one time that they came to this goy who lived not far from him, and they said to him, I think the Chaldai, the people who used to be the stargazers, they said to him, you know what we see? We see it's coming, and it's coming very big. You're going to lose everything you have to Yosef Mokir Shabbat. The guy said, what? I'm going to lose everything? Yosef's going to become in charge of all my stuff? I'm not going to let it happen. Yeah, he went, he sold everything, and he put it out. He bought himself a beautiful, beautiful gem. He took that stone, right, that he had, he put it into his hat. And next thing he knows, he walks over a water, right, over the bridge, and the wind blows. The hat falls inside the water. The fish comes and swallows the hat. That fish was caught in the market, but was brought to the marketplace Erev Shabbat. Marketplace is closing down. People are walking with a very big fish. They don't know who to sell to. Chaval, you know, if you don't take care of if you don't use the fish, lose the money. That was one day's work to catch that fish. And lo and behold, everybody says to them, we already bought fish, we already bought fish, we already bought fish. So the guys felt very bad. They said, one guy turns to them and says, you know what? There's one Jew who's going to buy that fish. And he'll do everything possible to buy it. Rabbi Yosef Mokir Shabbat, go to him. They run to him, they bring in the fish. He buys it at the price they want. He cuts the stomach open, and something started to shine away. A fortune. A fortune. You see what Ribono She'olam does? Somebody who keeps Shabbat. It's not you so much keeping the Shabbat, it's Shabbat keeping you. Shabbat does for you. It's out there to do for you. It does and does and does and will do. It protects you. It keeps you. You remember, Shabbat, Shabbat will protect me. Shabbat will watch over me. Here, the Gemara goes a whole story over here. 1 second. There was a whole goy, right? He had a lot of money, and the Gemara said to him, all your money is going to go to him. A whole story the Gemara brings down. This is not just a regular story. You see from here that a person who honors Shabbat, Hashem does for him. He does for him. Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yosef, follow the question. He says like this: Ashidin shebe'eretz Yisrael, the rich people of Eretz Yisrael, b'mayan zochin. How are they wealthy? What happened? How could they be rich? What zechut do they have? Not for no reason are you rich. You should know to begin with. There's a Gemara Chazal that say that the reason why really in reality Jewish people are not supposed to be rich at all. They're supposed to be poor. How is it about they are rich? Because of David HaMelech. He said, Hashem, shita mora lahem. Do something possible that the Goyim should have fear of the Jewish people. Because if Jewish people have no money, you know what the next thing they do? They stamp on you. You don't want that to happen. Let them be afraid of us. A Jew has money. Right? Well, there's a limit to what they're going to do. So the Gemara here says that rich people, they have a zechut because they do masrot. Yeah? But it says, what about Bavel? How could people in Bavel, what zechut do they have? They don't have masrot in Bavel. Mitzvah Maaser is only in Eretz Yisrael. He says because of the Torah, because they honor Torah. Here, he says, and what about other lands? He says only because Shemechabdin Shabbat. Babylonians have Talmud Torah, they have a lot of yeshivot. But what about the rest of the world? The rest of the world only because they keep Shabbat. We live in Chutz La'aretz. How in the world do you expect to become rich? Chazal say how. Shabbat, it's called. Honor Shabbat. Mechabdin Shabbat.
Honor Shabbat and become rich.
Sure.
But it's not only rich in money.
The Gemara, one second, hold
what
on.
does rich mean?
Okay, B'ezrat Hashem, we will continue on more next week. B'ezrat Hashem. I found actually the Gemara that I wanted to find for you. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak. The Gemara says Mikatef va'ir Mikatef v'nafik. And the Rashi explains over here. What does it mean Mikatef? It means you would pick up heavy things on the shoulder and take it out, and pick up heavy things on the shoulder and bring it in. And the Gemara says Be'elav Shabbat Yosev v'nichnas. And Erev Shabbat used to go out and come in. Lavi tamid masaot. Look what he says. He would constantly be busy on Erev Shabbat, carrying loads from one place. Klei tashmish means vessels. Bigdei chofesh, also clothing. Megadim, delicacies. Like as if he was going to expect to have somebody very prominent coming to a house. He shows that that I'm doing everything possible for you, because he's doing it for the honor of Shabbat. He's doing it for the sake of Shabbat. No, that's Shabbat.